What does the presidential election have to do with my retirement? Well, we're about to find out. Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy back with us as they are every Monday here on Daytime. It's so good to have you guys, especially talking about this because everybody's minds is on election today.
Yes, and of course we don't have a definitive answer, but we can kind of steer people in the right direction.
Exactly, and we know this election has kind of exponential consequences on all of us, either side of the aisle. What does it have to do specifically, though, with our retirement?
Yeah, so if you noticed last week, it was kind of quiet. It didn't really get reported on, but the Fed came out again and said, nope, no interest rate hike, which we weren't surprised by. We didn't really, I think you mentioned that in the last segment, we didn't really expect to see anything till January. But truth be told, more than likely, the outcome, we won't know the outcome until the president is inaugurated. And unfortunately, we don't know whether rates will go up or not, but more than likely they will go up some.
Okay.
And the president's going to take the heat for it, right?
Sure.
Just like all the other issues that have been talked a lot about all along this past year, taxes, Medicare, Social Security, all those changes are going to come down the pipeline here in the next couple months.
Okay.
I don't really look for there to be what I would call a wholesale change in interest rates, though, because of our national debt. You know, when you have $20 trillion of debt, if you raise interest rates even 2%, then that's going to have a huge impact on, you know, our debt service.
Yeah.
So I don't see our country actually being able to afford much of an interest rate hike.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, and as retirement planners, you guys work with pre-retirees, retirees every day. What is the overall sentiment of your clients right now? Are people worried about the impact this will have? Are you hearing a lot of, we're going to wait to make any decisions until afterwards?
Yes, we are seeing that a lot. And unfortunately, you know, you can't wait until it's too long. And so what we tell people is, okay, you can't control really what's going to happen. Of course, we can vote, so we can control to an extent, but you know, we can't control the outcome and how the markets are going to be affected, but we can control our personal economy, and we could put safeguards in place and plan a little more smartly so that changes that happen, you know, with the election or anything economically overall won't affect us so dramatically.
Right.
So one of the things that I notice even today, the markets are rallying, right? They kind of dropped earlier in the week, and it's just it's this back and forth game, right? So waking up every day afraid of what the headlines are going to be is not a smart way to plan. A smart way to plan is to put something in place before the headlines come out the next morning and say, okay, doesn't matter what happens today. I know what my floor is. I know the extent that I could lose. Of course, we're not in this to lose. We want to gain. But that's what we're afraid of. Of course, we're not afraid of gaining, we're afraid of losing. So that's what we want to protect against.
And Greg, we talk about, you know, stock market volatility. That happens after every election, but doesn't it usually even itself out pretty quickly? Should people not have an immediate reaction after the election?
I think the worst thing anybody can do with investments is panic. You need a strategy that you're comfortable with, that you feel confident in, and that you feel like is going to see you through for the long term.
Right.
If you have that, then you don't have to worry because, you know, in 4 years we're going to do this again.
Yeah,
and then 4 more years we're going to do it again. And if you retire for 30 years, you're going to go through this quite a few times. And if every time there's an election you're a nervous wreck, then you don't have the right plan in place. You need one that's going to make you confident.
And all that comes down to your portfolio X-ray. I mean, you guys can do that. You can make sure they have this plan in place and that nobody has a reason to panic on Wednesday, right?
That's exactly right. And in our portfolio review, or X-ray that we call it, we want to look below the surface. We want to understand, first of all, what are the fees? What amount of risk are you actually taking? So what is your average return versus risk? And can you improve that situation? And that's really what we look for. It's more of a common sense approach.
Sure.
And that portfolio review we want to offer to people just so they can really have the confidence that they can retire and make it without running out of money.
Okay, absolutely. As always, great advice, Greg and Kristen. Thanks for being here.
Good to be here.